This is the webinar. We're talking about everything related to employee versus subcontractors. So let me share my screen with you. Want to make sure I declare no responsibility because it is a free webinar and we do our research. And for every organization like Community CPA, we are learning just as well as you do too. And the law changes, regulation changes, and we become from not knowing to know a little bit, from know a little bit to know it fully. All of that process would involve occasionally, and our statement may not be up to date. So really make sure you take internet information with grain of salt, right? Don't just use that in courtroom. No, you can't, because that may be wrong. So you still need a professional to help you if you really want to rely on professional opinions. Now, let's talk about subcontractor and employee. I know this is a this is a very old topic and it's a very old compliance issue. Who doesn't know that? A lot of our business owners knows if they hire subcontractor, it is easier than having them as employee. And they use the word easier because they are referring that to how to handle that paycheck. If you are hiring an employee, what do? You most likely, small business will go to CPA firm, goes, hi, Ying, can Community CPA help us do payroll? We'll say, yes, we do, and we take it over, we run your payroll for you, right? And you pay a fee for that. But if you hire a subcontractor, you probably don't need to pay a fee for that because you just write a check and pay them, then you're done, right? But what's the real difference other than that? Subcontractors tend to get paid for projects, and they take care of their own taxes, and they work when and where they want. So subcontractor is not under your control. And if you are a business owner and is a control freak, you want to control everybody for everything, I say that because someone said that I'm that way. I just totally don't agree. And look at me, how can I be a control freak, right? But when you have a subcontractor, you absolutely cannot be a control freak. You have to let them do what they want, and they are just going to get your project done. And you don't have the responsibility, and you also should not be supervise them the way you supervise your employee. Employees are paid regular wages, right? Or regular wages, and they receive employee benefit and have tax withheld from their dollars. So have their work scheduled on predictable manner, whether it is 8 to 5 or even 12 midnight to 3 a.m. and however you schedule them, but they are scheduled. So they're predictable and they're dictated by the employer. So these are employees, and then you want to say that, why, listen to you, why am I even want to be an employee? That sounds really, really bad because I'm being controlled and my schedule is being dictated and I am, get paid regular wages. Then they suddenly forgot about all the benefit that it was come along with it. And the tax responsibility has already been taken care of by withholding your tax properly. So if you are the one and battling to be a subcontractor or the employee, you also should be here in my webinar, because this webinar is not just designed for your boss. It's also designed for you because you want to know what's the real difference, why subcontractor is so attractive. In fact, if you ask me, if someone asks Ying, say, do you want to be subcontractor or employee? And I'll tell you that depends. And I don't think one or another is absolute answer. It is not. So let's go on with our content. You will know why it is not. So before we work on the difference, I want to briefly mention these videos we have on YouTube. And I have a YouTube video called How the Proact Impacts Freelance and Gig Workers. And this is a very trendy, you talk about fashionable things, right? So there's so many things are fashionable. The fake eyelashes are fashionable. And so Proact is absolutely fashionable right now in the accounting tax world because that act already passed the House, is in Senate, and should going through Senate, get approved or disapproved, depends on number of votes. And in House, there's already Republican voting for that bill. So in House, it passed the House because some Republican, you know, council council members are also voting for Proact. And the president has already released a statement saying that if it is passed the Senate, and he will sign. So, and it's all eyes on Senate to see whether it will be approved. If you are a contractor today, and you should know what that is. And I have a whole video. I know it's 41 minutes, but you might want to look into that. I just want to throw that out there so you know we have this, right? Subcontractor or employee. Help to decide on one of the, this is the one of the three benchmarks. So this is good for the employee to know, and it's also good for you to know. If you are a subcontractor, you want to make sure that you actually qualify. And these benchmark means that you use these to benchmark yourself, behavior control. And when the business has the right to direct, control the work performed by the worker, then the worker is an employee. That is the statement coming out of IRS, all right? And if you're saying that, that statement doesn't say anything, well, that's what the statement is. So we need to digest what exactly that says. Behavior control just means that let's say if I am a subcontractor and I am putting up a drywall on the construction site, and I do that all along, and my company is a drywall company. We do nothing. Okay, my boss is a drywall person. He does nothing but doing drywall. I'm one of the drywall workers. And because my boss will tell me, oh, you nail the sheet this way, and you go to the other side of 2x4 and nail the other one. And this is how I want you to do it. And here is the tool, and do it, please. That is an employee. You know why I say that? Because you control the behavior. You directly teach the people how to do. And in what case it would not be an employee? In the case where your boss is not only doing drywall, also doing plumbing, also doing roof, also doing other things related to general construction. And if he goes out to hire subcontractors to finish each job, he does not have the knowledge to finish the drywall. So he's saying, Ying, go ahead, get the drywall down, and I just need to be done by this date. That is a subcontractor. No behavior control, right? And because you don't stipulate how I do it the way I do it, I'm just going to tell you I'm done. And you do a quality inspection. If you don't like my work, I can put in more set of nails for you to make it really sturdy. And, I can do things to meet your quality requirement, but I am not being supervised, being controlled by you. So no behavior control. So that's one of the measures between subcontractors and the employee. The next one would be financial control. So what is financial control? Subcontractor is often paid by a flat fee and invest in equipment they use for work. Employee is generally guaranteed a regular wage for hourly, weekly, or monthly. However, employees do not have to invest in their equipment. Okay, so financial control in this content, it says that, and how you pay them. Subcontractor typically paid by job. You finish this roof for me, and that's $15,000. And me as a subcontractor, okay, I actually charge my client $20,000. So I make $5,000 profit, but I give my subcontractor $15,000. So that's a job. Get done, right? They're paid by a job. And what if it rained for the whole month, 2 months, 3 months, and my subcontractor, the roofer, will never be able to even get on the roof to do it? Do I owe them money? No, I am going to pay until they got that done. So they might go 2 months without any work, but that is not my concern. But if I am a general contractor and I have an employee who does roofs, and for 2 weeks raining, should I pay my employee continuously? Absolutely yes, you do. Of course, you could lay off your employee, so they go for unemployment benefit, but they still get paid somehow. They are not your subcontractor. See that difference? So on the pay is different. On the spending is also different. Subcontractor, you spend money. You spend money to buy your tools. You spend money to drive your cars. You spend money to pay your next level helper, right? You got 15,000, but you're probably gonna pay out 10,000 because you have a system, you want to have one, and you want to drive the truck to the location, and you want to, what else? Equipment, nails, hammers, stuff like that, right? So that is spending side of financial control. Subcontractor, you 100% manage that. But for employee, today, do employee worry about what equipment employer has? No, they may not like your equipment because it's too slow, but they're not responsible to bring their home computer over to your office because your computer sucks and cannot run the program, right? So that is what controlled. Spending for employee is controlled because they are not paying anything, and the employer needs to pay. So this is the financial side of things. Your payment to the subcontractor and the employee, the control is different, and on the spending side, it's also different, right? So this is how you're gonna decide whether you are a subcontractor or you are an employee. Every time I think about this, and I think about one of my really good friends when I was working in Toronto, Canada. Of course, it's not same set of rules, right? But her name is Grace, and she was working at TD Bank. And one day I saw her carrying a whole bunch of stationeries, like file cabinet, not cabinets, file drawers, and papers and pens, pretty, interesting pens and stuff. So I saw her and I said, why are you buying that? She goes, oh, I don't really like the office. I requested the pens and pencils. They still didn't really get that for me yet. I like to have my own things, so I'm going to buy these things, just, use in my office. I was so impressed because she really don't have the need to buy it. The employer, TD Bank, will give that to her, just maybe taking a little longer. But she went ahead and bought what she wanted, take it to the office to work. That is a pure employee good work ethic. But that doesn't prove that she is subcontractor now, because she wants to do it. Doesn't mean that the employer didn't provide that, right? So that is where the difference is. But what if Grace is a subcontractor? She would have to buy that. Then she has to wait until deducting that out of her 1040 Schedule C as part of the business expense, because the TD Bank is not going to buy that for her because she's a subcontractor. So get that? So this is really where you can effectively understand where you are, your relationship with the person who hired you. Are you an employee or are you a subcontractor? Even though you bought your own things, but you're still an employee because that is available at your workplace. So if you have someone who works for you, say nail shop, and you like your own tools, so you bought your own tools coming into work, but that may not be a way to decide whether you're a subcontractor or employee, because the employer has a set of tools you don't like and you want to use yours. That does not subject to determination of now you are subcontractors. No, you would still be an employee just because you like to use your own tools, right? All right. So the last one to determine whether you're a subcontractor or employee, is what we call the relationship, Judge. Relationship. So what kind of relationship you have? That relationship is best defined by a piece of paper, not by verbal connection, not a handshake, no, and not anything but a contract. So written contract, which describes the relationship the party intended to create. See? So you intend to create a subcontractor relationship, your contract needs to say that you are subcontractor, I am contractee. I am contractor to you, you are subcontractor. And then the contract needs to say that you're responsible for all of these. I am not responsible for all of these. And to make it really clear, no misunderstanding. Because when you have a misunderstanding, or when you leave that up to a judgment, you will see a letter coming from unemployment insurance asking you, is this person work with you for this period? And show me the payroll. Then you go, yeah, he did work for that period, but what do you mean by payroll? He's a subcontractor, and you have nothing to prove. If you have a written contract, you send it over to unemployment benefit office, show them that, sorry, he's not employee, not subject to unemployment benefit. Of course, when I said that, maybe someone of you, listening to me goes, Yin, you're wrong. I'm a subcontractor, I actually got paid. Remember, last year was a crazy year, and this half a year is also equivalent crazy. We are going through pandemic. It is not new. So it was not the regular rules. So what you are experiencing in 2020 and the first half of 2021, that is pandemic related relief, is not permanent. Okay. So in general, you must have a contract. Businesses providing benefits such as insurance, pension plan, vacation pay, or sick pay to employees, but not to the subcontractors. You see, if you are an employee, and the idea is that if you're an employee, your employer really meant to take care of you. A good employer will think for you, think when you retire what you're gonna do, and will have those benefits laid out for you. But I'm not saying that all of the employer are bad because they didn't have 401k plan for you. I am saying that, a business that is well established should have that. If you work for a small business, they don't have those benefits. That's not a problem. When you work for small business, your opportunity is huge. You never become so important with a large firm already with 100,000 employees, but you will become so important to that business owner if you work in the small business. It's not comparable. It is not even the same. It is just apple and oranges. It's not even apple and oranges. It's a pair of shoes compared to an apple. So it's not comparable. And folks, and don't look at the benefit as something you must have as an employee. A lot of employees work in the small businesses. They don't have those benefits in the very beginning, but they all grow from there. They all become better, then they offer more benefit. And then look at Community CPA, we're a great example. On the first day, I don't have any of those benefits they were talking about, but I do have employees. So I don't pay them, but they're willing to work with me. So we have people who are here for more than 10 years long. So that is where we are. And you want to look at the benefit, and there's some intangible benefit as an employee or as a small business owner's close circle, and then being a subcontractor. Subcontractor, you're on your own. You create your own dynamics, really. So those are the three identifiers to separate employee from subcontractor. So number one, behavior control. Number two, financial control. Number three, relationship. Relationship is best defined by what? By a piece of paper. Financial control, and we cover two areas. One is paying the person. That is the control, whether you are paying outright in a fixed fee or you're paying hourly and stuff like that. That different your employee and subcontractor, and how you spend money. It's also separating subcontractor from employee. Behavior control, we had example about the roofer, right? So that is the three key elements. You want to use that to benchmark yourself and to benchmark your relationship with the person who hires you. And we want to cover 4 areas in a little bit more details right here. So when we talk about subcontractors and employee, we want to talk about employment laws and the government compliance, payroll taxes, and income taxes. Let me show you what I mean by that. So for employment law, you know that just the word suggests anything related to DOL, Department of Labor, and you are out of that if you are a subcontractor. You are not included in there. And I know workers' comp now are actually making employer listing their subcontractors, and because they want to cover those subcontractors by workers' comp if they don't have workers' comp on their own. So when you hire a subcontractor to work for you, business owners, my advice for you is you want your subcontractors to provide you a copy of workers' comp. They can go to workers' comp insurance, purchase a workers' comp insurance, and without covering themselves. If they are the only person in their business, they don't cover themselves, their workers' comp insurance is very low. There is no coverage basically, but says that they're in compliance. They have a workers' comp insurance. So, business owners, and I recommend you to have all of your subcontractors to obtain workers' comp. And so then on the DOL, the subcontractor is not subject to that. But of course, the DOL has a business to do, and they want to make sure that you did not misclassify them. They could come to audit your subcontractor, goes, well, John Smith needs to be employee because all the other people who does the same job is your employee. Then you better figure out a way how to explain that, right? And on the employee side, for employment law, it covers workers' comp, general liability insurance, professional liability insurance, and the lawsuit. Yes. So all of these, when you're an employee of a company, you're covered. And even if when you say you are an accountant and you calculated somebody's payroll wrong, and the government came around, give you a $25,000 penalty. And a U.S. employee, half of your salary is going to go to pay for the penalty if you pay that yourself, right? So you would hope, because I am an employee, I'm covered. Yes, you are, because the company should have general liability insurance, professional liability insurance to cover those kind of, big mistakes. So as an employee, you are covered. You don't take home of any issues from work. And you are also covered if you are working in the company and got injured. And you work in the company and you are driving to post office to send out urgent mail for the company and you get injured. Of course, your auto insurance will come in, but also that would be covered on the workers' comp as well, right? So all of these one as an employee, you are covered. That's what employment laws are doing. They're protecting you. And so you can go home with the joy of working and a paycheck, plus all the benefit that you're getting. I think that's really good. Now, government compliance. So for subcontractors, and you are a business, so you have compliance requirement from IRS because you need to file your business tax return, right? And you need to pay salaries to your worker or your employees, and that is IRS deal. Then for Department of Labor, you need to make sure that you are paying your employee with reasonable wages. Cannot be under minimum wage. And if you operate a restaurant or hourly rate, you cannot forget about overtime. So those are DOL enforcement. They want to make sure that you are doing the fair labor, you are following the Fair Labor Act that DOL put out. That's a 78 and 80-year-old act. It is not new. It has always been there to protect workers' interests. Of course, whichever state you are, and you are also protected by, you're also regulated by your workforce development. Normally, you need to register yourself as a subcontractor, and you cannot be like, oh, I declare I'm a subcontractor. You're done. No, you're not. And you need to either form yourself as a company or you register yourself as a subcontractor. Otherwise, whoever worked with you would run into a risk to be told you are their employee. If you don't want to be their employee, you want to make sure that you are in compliance with that state requirement. If you are in the state and you don't know, or you happen to work in the state because this particular job you goes to a different state, and you can check with us and we will take care of you in that fashion. Make sure as a subcontractor you are in compliance with the state requirement. You may have to register subcontractor license with that state right away because you're working the business there. All right. Now, for employee, you literally do not have much compliance risk at all. You personally, like I said, you take the payroll check home and you take the joy of working home and you leave everything else at work. That's really, there's nothing you really need to be in compliance. Of course, we have our clients with other compliance issues with employees, and the employees handle cash incorrectly and cash got disappeared. So those are different issues, right? But from the hiring of employee and from employee standpoint, there is no liabilities and the compliance you need to be aware of. And you just need to file your 1040 tax return at the end of the year, right? Payroll taxes for subcontractors, and there is no payroll taxes while you are going about your business. And you, of course, need to give your W-9 to the person who hired you as a subcontractor. You need to give them your company name and your company EIN number. And if you're a subcontractor, you decide not to form a company, then of course you give them your legal name, your social security number. But I will tell you, in today's environment, I advise my business clients, never do or hire subcontractors that use their personal name with their social security number. And if they decided to be a subcontractor and we hold them accountable, they need to go form an LLC and form a business, act like a business before they show up as a subcontractor. So that's what we advise our business owners. So if you are the person and a subcontractor of other people, and you know it is beneficial to set yourself up as a business. And if you are a business owner wanting to hire a subcontractor, you just heard me, not to hire them on their name and the social security number. All right? And they're not on payroll. And you don't pay payroll taxes for them. You don't pay social security, Medicare. And that contract you have with them is so important. And this subcontractor would have to file Schedule C. If they have a profit made at the end of the year, they would have this, what we call Social Security, Medicare, or self-employment tax to pay. Okay, but that is not the business owner's problem anymore, because you hire subcontractor, they do that themselves. So that is the payroll taxes. It is only when the subcontractor makes profit and file Schedule C, and you will have that payroll tax. So-called payroll tax is just self-employment tax. Okay, and the payroll taxes for employees, of course, that's a whole load of them, right? And today I just spent a couple of hours talking about payroll taxes for employee with one of our clients. So employee need to submit W-4, I-9, and to the employer. And from there on, and the income tax withholding, Social Security, Medicare are all taken care of by the employer. All right. And you as an employee just want to make sure your income tax withholding works for you. And I just recently had a call from a person, and he was saying that his employer for sure doing something wrong because every year, and they would end up paying a lot of taxes. You know, he said all the other people who works for the employer, they don't pay taxes, but I don't know what happened to my employer. They make me pay a lot of taxes. So I looked at their income tax and I realized that the couple, they both make high income. They're over 100,000 a year. But both of them going into say we have 2 kids, we're married. And in this case, that W-4 they submitted to the employer should be, one should be single. The other one can do married with 2 kids. Because if you do married with 2 kids, because they are employed by different employer, so they assume that they are the family breadwinner. So they did not consider the other person was making as much. So that's why they were under withheld so significantly. So both of them were struggling every year at the end to make taxes done. So, that's why the W-4, it is your responsibility. It's the employee's responsibility to give the right information so you can be withheld taxes properly. But of course, if you are the breadwinner, please don't forget to put in your dependent number so that way your employer don't take all of the money away from you. Of course, it is still your money. At the end, when you file taxes, you get it all back. But what's the point? You don't want the IRS to use your money the whole year and you need it so bad. That's not the intention of IRS. IRS is really a very good government. I'll tell you that. I'm saying it not because I work with them all the time. They are really reasonable. If you are not paying taxes, as long as you respond to their letter, as long as you make arrangement, it's always doable. There's never a time and the taxpayer falling into a crack and there is no way you can save them. You can go to taxpayer advocate and they will help you, right? So W-4, your responsibility, providing right information. Otherwise, it will be hard for you to get the right amount of pay. Employer, which is your boss, also need to match Social Security, Medicare. Yeah, no kidding. They are not only going to match your Social Security, Medicare, you put in $1, they put in $1. And they also going to pay Medicare and endlessly. It doesn't matter how much you make, they're going to pay Medicare taxes anyway. And then they also have to pay for your unemployment benefit in case you get laid off for whatever reason, or you decided to quit this job, go to another job, then the other job happened to decide not to hire you anymore, then you ended up unemployed, right? In that case, and you also have a benefit from the payroll that you were having. And of course, that unemployment benefit, not you apply it at your state, but it's a federal dollar and the state dollar combined. Federal government also give money to the state to do that. So many benefits, right? And so the whole purpose is to make the employee not worried about what they do, but doing what the employer assigned them to do. I think mission accomplished if that is really that simple, but in a way it is kind of that way, right? Payroll taxes example. We put this example here because we get a lot of questions. Sometimes our client would say, I wonder I should hire this person as employee and or as a subcontractor. Look like both can work, but I want to know how much money do I pay, and how much more do I pay if I hire that person as an employee. So here's calculation, and I want you to take a screenshot of that because it will help you. Okay, $300, $3,000 salary a month, and if it is employee, your total payout is $4,240. Got it? And then if it is $3,000 subcontractor, and your total cash out is $3,000. Make sense? So there's a $1,240 difference. What are they? Number one, Social Security Medicare match $210, medical insurance $300, Long-term, short-term disability plan, 100. Unemployment insurance, 90. 401k match, 90. 401k profit sharing, 450. This is a real example of one of our clients. And you may say, oh, Ying, I don't need 401k because I don't give that to any of my employees. Yeah, then you can subtract that. And if you say, oh, I also don't offer medical insurance, then you can subtract that. But this is very useful. This is all inclusive how you should calculate that. Okay, so keep in mind, when you have someone hired as employee, your real cash outlay is $4,240, even though you told the employee that I'm paying you $3,000 a month. But with subcontractor, you tell them you pay them $3,000 a job, they get $3,000. But they cannot be getting $3,000 a month, folks. That would be wrong. And then somebody from our great government will walk into your life, tell you that you're wrong. Okay, you should make that person employee. Then guess what? You right away owe money to the government. And how much you owe? In our first example, you owe $1,240 a month. That's a lot. Okay, so a good example. Now, talk about income tax filing. This is our last one. In terms of that four areas we want to look at: employment law, government compliance, and the payroll taxes. And here is the income tax filing. So income tax filing for subcontractors, and I kind of briefly mentioned, and you will get a 1099 NEC. What is NEC? NEC stands for non-employment compensation. That means you're not employee. It's non-employment compensation. And a report as a business income. Then you can deduct work-related expense to reduce that income. Let's say you got 3,000, you could reduce that to minus 1,000 because you got $4,000 expense, right? Then I know you're asking me, oh, what can I deduct? You know, the IRS definition is anything is necessary and reasonable for business that you can deduct. So necessary. For your business, that expense is necessary, then it's deductible. And reasonable. For your business, that amount is reasonable, you can deduct it. So it is very vague, not scientific, not a numerical standards, but it offers some sort of standards. If you look at the past tax court lawsuit, and a professional will tell you what is deductible, what is not. Okay, and it is a good place for a subcontractor and to really look at their bottom line and knowing whether they made money or not. If you borrow money to pay taxes, I always tell people our tax system in the United States of America is so reasonable. If you are the person and don't have money, have to borrow money to pay taxes, I really encourage you to come to Community CPA. Let us confirm that, yes, you need to borrow money to pay taxes. And if that is not the case, then we can fix it. I mean, we have our past president and didn't pay taxes, even though everybody thinks that he has a lot of money. I'm not saying that he's doing it wrong. And he just had a way to work our tax system. How could I not say our system is so fair? Our system is so great, and it can really help people to strategize what they're doing and making sure that you're paying your fair share. $700 tax due is not to be a fair share, but there should be your fair share. Income tax filing for employee. Receive W-2 and report it on 1040. Okay, straightforward. Cannot deduct work-related expense on 1040. Yes, cannot deduct anymore after 2018 tax reform by President Trump. So don't even consider that. But if you do have work-related expense, let me just interject here to tell you that you work with your employer. I know the last year and, COVID year, so many people were working from home. And maybe you don't want to work. Maybe you are one of those people that don't care about COVID, but it was forced to go home to shelter and to work from home. And if you're really against that, you actually should ask your employer to pay for your internet expenses and stuff. Why not? I mean, you don't even want to work from home and they made you to. And I think it's reasonable for you to ask for that. But so far, the people I know, they wanted to work at home, then that's really, that's a protection for you to work at home. So I don't think that would be considered work-related expense. But obviously, I'm just offering you some ideas so you can think in your situation, see where you land, right? What happens if someone doesn't take the responsibility to file income tax properly? And if you don't file, you are forever subject to be audited. So there's a statutory limitation in terms of auditing you by IRS, the 3 years statutory limitation. So if you filed your taxes of 2019 on time, and by the time we file 2021 tax return, 2018 is no longer available for audit. Okay, it is over the statutory limitation time. But if you don't file, it is always open. So they can always come back to you, even though it's 10 years, 20 years, maybe you're so irresponsible, your kid would have to work on your taxes when they grow up, but it's open, it's not closed. So I would say you file taxes. So for an employee who works at the company, they have a W-2 for 100K, then total 100K will be included in taxable income, right? So you put 100K, then depends on how many kids you have, know that you pay taxes. For subcontractors, not so. Here we have example of if you got a 1099 income for 100K, and then you have supply 20K, repairs 15K, home office deduction 4K, auto mileage 21K, and then you ended up with what? 40K profit. So you would pay 40K profit, and this 40K is literally the same way how your 100K is, just much less. Because that 40K we're looking at is going to pay Social Security Medicare taxes, okay? But if you are getting a 100K as subcontractor, you pay on the 40K. But if you're getting it as an employee, you pay it on the 100K. But the reality is, as a subcontractor, you do have to buy all of these things you're talking about. So it is not really, you can't just compare 40K to 100K goes, oh yeah, I'm at such a big loss to become your employee. No, it's not like that. And because you do have other responsibilities and other liabilities, what if something goes wrong, stuff like that. All right, so now, if you're not sure how to classify a worker, and you can file a form SS-8 to request a formal determination from IRS. Isn't that cool? So I'm giving you that form, and the people don't know about that. And we have people are very inquisitive, and they called a couple dozen CPA firms, and I got 2 dozens of different answers. I'm exaggerating, but you know what I mean. And you just don't know who to believe. In that case, go file a form SS-8 and go ask IRS. Okay. And if you happen to get on the phone to ask IRS representative to answer your question, my advice, write down that ID number, because sometimes the answer was wrong, or maybe it doesn't apply to your case. You didn't really explain it properly, so they ended up giving you a wrong answer. And when you get into an argument in the future, you can reference that employee ID. So make sure you keep that in mind, okay? And the consequences of misclassifying, and a real life story. And we have a business who are misclassifying employees. They had put all of their employees as subcontractor, So the consequences is the DOR come around, did audit, and the fine penalized them a whole bunch. And then they went on to report that to IRS. IRS come around and audit them for several years and penalize them a whole bunch, not even related to the payroll side things anymore. And so the company folds and is a great concept, a good company, and running rapidly, and but quickly fold because of government compliance issue. So the consequences for business owners is very simple. You lose your business, and you get bad experience. And those kind of experience sometimes would hold on to you for the rest of your life. You can never get up to do another business. So I always want to tell folks that always be aware. They are business items that you just don't know. Nobody ever talked to you about. I talk to people and who are new immigrants to the country. It's easy to sell them the idea that you don't know these business stuff and they come to us, we teach you, because they know they don't know. They grow up in a different country, come to United States of America, they're brand new. So we make them Americanized in business field, right? And like in the business with business concept and business way of doing, and we make them Americanized that way. But they are Americans, grow up here, speak perfect English, also not knowing about business because their home environment is not there. They don't sit on the dinner table, talk to their mom and dad about how to run business. They don't hear their parents struggle about the business, so they don't have a concept of business. To those Americans, to those people who are not immigrant but small business owners, you are no different from those ones who come from another country. Other than you're more familiar with English and you just know the world around you more, you are more comfortable. But that doesn't mean you have the business knowledge. So that's why we have those webinars here. That's why we tell you the consequences. I'm not trying to scare you. And I am just telling you that people who are misclassifying their business, their employees and their subcontractors, they lose their business. And then they become heavily in debt with the government. And to fight the government to reduce your debt, that's not an easy fight. You need to put away another bunch of money to hire professionals and lawyers to fight your battles. Why are you even get there to begin with? So know the difference, and every time, whenever you have doubt, and make sure you ask. And I also want to make sure that you understand every industry has what we call normal setting. Normal setting related to employee and subcontractor. And I'll give you an example of CPA firms. And the CPA firms in general do not have subcontractors. And every person in the firm, they are CPAs, they're accountants, they're tax accountants, they're employees, or they're or they're partners, right? So the reason for that is in this industry, the liability is huge. Okay, if you want to be independently running, then you have to be willing to take the liabilities. And because as an employee, liability is sheltered by the company. If anybody doing it wrong, it's the company's fault, right? So company pays the penalty. Company goes to the court. Company fails it. Company pays the damages, and whatever that happens, or company wins, right? So it is all company. So again, and you want to make sure that, and you know your industry normal practice. But in the construction company, it's very different. Some company hire a lot of subcontractors. For example, general contractors. If they have a general contracting business, they probably subcontract everything out. But even if that is the case, my business owners, I want you to know that your subcontractors should be a business. They should not be coming to you with their name and their social security number. No, to protect yourself. And you want subcontractors to bear a business entity so they can take on certain risk, and you can be very clear in terms of your classification. Obviously, a business cannot become an employee. So if they are a business, they're not employee. Okay. And a person that you hired got injured. That's a big reason why we got to be clear with whether it is independent contractor or employee. If they got injured, they need to be cared. I'm saying this, if I am a business owner, someone in my team, one of my employees get injured, I would love to have some sort of insurance so we can provide the maximum care to this person who worked for me but got injured. And from that person's standpoint, when I get injured, I really wish that I don't have to nag my employer to give me some more cash so I can survive, or to go to my relative, ask for money to survive. I like to be paid for what I entitled, right? So having this proper classification, having your subcontractor knowing what exactly they have from you, have your employee understand all the benefit that they have from you, and that is important. That will eliminate misclassification kind of bad consequences, and you can run your business properly and be a successful business owner. All right, so this is my webinar for today. And again, go onto our website, and you saw Catherine's email, and you can email her for any topic that you are really interested in to hear. And we prepare our webinar for you. And of course, our office opens Monday to Saturday and 8:30 to 5:30. And I will talk to you again. Thank you for listening, and see you again. Bye-bye.